What's up and welcome back to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, April 5th, 2024. Sorry for the slight delay. We were having some audio issues, but we fixed them because Barrett is really, really good at what he does. But of course, I am Tim Geddes, and today I am joined by a very special guest, straight out of Game Informer. It's Kyle Hilliard.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it. I think we're wearing matching jackets. I think
I love
it's like
it.
A similar.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to get that nice little bomber going on. It's a Friday. Got to feel right. Got to feel, got to be covered but not too covered. Got to be prepared for any weather at any time. You're over in Minnesota, correct?
Yeah.
So
it
it's
was
just
still
always
snowing
cold.
like 2 days ago.
Yeah. It doesn't snow here. It doesn't snow much here. It's just always like 60 degrees. So it's always bomber jacket weather. So it's really, really nice for me. You're doing God's work out there wearing a bomber jacket in the snow, but I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That's how I feel about it too.
Good.
God's work.
Good.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Doing okay. Yeah. I'm happy to be on a Friday. I'm happy to be on Kind of Funny.
This is exciting. I'm excited to have you here. I'm really excited to have you because y'all made a really big move last week over at Game Informer, and I want to talk about that. I'm going to let you talk about it, actually, because you will get all the information correct.
Right now?
Yeah.
Plugs at the beginning?
Off the
you
rip.
guys
Let's
are
go.
Maniacs here. No, we have a standalone subscription. Now, subscriptions are, you get like a print magazine sent to you. It kind of looks like this, maybe one of these. You get it in the mail. This is like an old way that your parents probably used to get video game details and news, but we still do it, and it's cool. And I've been there since about 2011, and even our editor-in-chief, who's been with Game Informer for 20 years, we were talking about it. I don't think we've ever done this in the sense that you could come to our website and subscribe to the print magazine from Game Informer. It's always been through our parent company. It's always been through GameStop. But now you can go to subscription.gameinformer.com. We'll send you 10 issues for the year. And it's $19.91 right now, which is a reference to when Game Informer was founded, 1991.
Oh, that's fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, so what's so special about this to me? I mean, people listening to this show know my history with this very well because I am incessant about talking about it. But of course, like many others, I grew up with video game magazines, Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo Power, and Game Informer, being and OPM as well, being kind of like very, very important to who I am as a person, and a lot of the personalities that I felt like I got to know, reading them every single month, being excited, running to Blockbuster to read them through, trying to convince my mom to buy me one of the magazines, or if I got real lucky for Christmas, get the subscription for the entire year so that I can wait and have them come to me in my mailbox, and it was just the greatest feeling of all time. And it's been interesting because I feel like over the years, I remember you bringing up 2011, it must have been around there that Electronic Gaming Monthly came back. Like they had went away and they came back and they're like, hey, we're going to try to do this as more of like an enthusiast thing. Like we're going to make it really premium and really nice. And it worked for a while. I don't think it's still going. But I remember subscribing to them for a bit and like supporting and being really excited to, even in a world where at that time I was working at IGN, or at least I was about to be working at IGN. So the internet was in full swing. And it was very much like you're getting your news differently than how magazines are able to get that stuff out. But I've been so fascinated to look at Game Informer over the last decade to see how decades, honestly, at this point, to see the transition from magazine to website. Because bringing up EGM, like they did that from EGM, the magazine, to one up the website. But it was always different with y'all because of GameStop's involvement and the mandates and requirements and everything. But seeing the shift to Game Informer breaking news, Imran being back there and like so many amazing people breaking news on the web version of Game Informer, but then to see how that affected the pivot of the magazine, and specifically recently in the last couple years, the quality of the magazine itself, the quality of hey, we understand the world we're in, so we're going to do deeper dives into like interviews and like retrospectives, and like we're going to try to get access that other people don't have to be able to tell stories about video games. And I mean, you just brought up the cover. I love the art direction that y'all have had for the cover stories on Game Informer, because it's just beautiful art with just minimalist Game Informer logo. Like you're really letting the art speak for itself. And I just feel like like without being too dramatic here, I think that there's a lot of artists over there on your team right now that are doing really cool stuff. And I, for one, subscribed the moment I saw this to the 2-year plan. The pricing is super worth it. You could also gift it out to people. I think this is just really, really cool. And y'all need the help right now. How many people are at Game Informer?
God, there's on editorial, there's only 6 of us, and then we have shout out to Lele and Monica who do a lot of the layout and art and stuff like that. They're on production, but we're a small team. And I mean, frankly, I'm embarrassed at how well you've pitched this, Tim. I feel like I did a bad job.
I'm a fan, man. That's what I think. That's the thing is when you're authentically a fan of these type of things, it's it shows through when there's actual love and care being put into the products, and y'all are working so hard. And I just think that the most important thing to bring up with all of this is how small a team Game Informer is, because you know, Kind of Funny gets a lot of credit for being a small team punching way above our abilities, and we should. I mean, I'm very proud of what we do. Our team is so talented, and we're wild for the things that we do. But I think people understand who we are, and they know the lineage, and they understand, wow, it's impressive that they're doing this. It's not wow, they're doing too much or whatever. With Game Informer, I feel like y'all get a quote-unquote bad rap because of GameStop. And there is this understanding of oh man, well, they have GameStop money. They have all the funds they need. They have all the resources they need. And I feel like
if that's true, I'd love to see it. If anyone could show me that.
Yeah, I think that's the exact opposite. You know, I feel like y'all are really, really, really... I mean, I don't want to put words in anyone's... And I feel like you're trying really hard. And I think that this is such a smart move. I don't know how y'all pulled it off to be able to finally just have a revenue stream that y'all can point to and say, this is us. This is because of us. It's not power to the players. It's not people signing up for any other reason. Nobody can take this away from the people at Game Informer. I mean, hey, that is the last line of defense of making sure that this institution can stay around. So... Anyways.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. That's super kind. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it is the most direct way to say you like us, you know. Yeah. And we send you something in the mail. Who else is doing that, you know?
And that's cool. I think that's the thing is I've been on and off of subscribing to Game Informer throughout my entire life, but I am now looking forward to getting something in the mail every month or mostly every month. It's 10 a year.
10 issues for the year. Yeah. So it's every 6 weeks.
So that's insane. That small team is putting out an entire magazine every 6 weeks. But
I agree. Yeah.
Really, any last words you want to say about that?
Yeah, final plug is we will reveal our next cover on Tuesday. It's one we're very excited about, if you can believe that. And if you subscribe now or soon, that, you will get that issue in the mail that we will reveal on Tuesday.
So that's very cool. Everybody gets on it. But enough about that for now. Today's stories include troubles at Life is Strange Studio Deck 9. Boo! Star Wars Outlaws is getting a new trailer. Yay! And more, because this is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news that you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free. You can watch us record them live, and you get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be part of the show, you can submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. A little housekeeping for you. Right after this episode of Games Daily, another episode of Kind of Funny Game Showdown will premiere, featuring Janet Garcia, Imran Khan, and Tamoor Hussain. It's on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. I hear this one is an absolute slobber knocker of an episode.
Who said that?
Me.
Okay.
Me.
Gotcha. That's where you heard it from.
Yep.
So after this, for YouTube, we'll redirect you over to the premiere. If you're on Twitch, you can stay on Twitch. We'll also be live streaming it on Twitch for y'all.
Yeah, so very cool. Go check that out. Keep supporting the greatest game show. Kind of funny. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Kieran Hovasapian, and Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by the Kind of Funny membership, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 5 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
So story number 1, a very big story dropped today about Deck 9. Of course, Rebecca Valentine was the one that dropped this over at IGN. This is very, very, very much a required reading that I think everybody should go to IGN and just read the entire article. It is very long. It is very detailed. There is a lot of very bad things going on. And it's, again, one of those important stories that we need to talk about. And I feel like the more awareness that people have about this type of stuff, the better the world's going to be able to protect others and also make sure that you are acting in a way that is fair and equitable and empathetic to the people around you.
And really quick with that required reading, I will put a link to this in the description below.
Yes. So the headline is How Hidden Nazi Symbols Were the Tip of a Toxic Iceberg at Life is Strange developer Deck 9. Again, from Rebecca Valentine at IGN. I'm just going to read a bit of this. Obviously, you guys should go read everything because there is a lot. Early last year, while working on the next entry in the Life is Strange franchise, a few developers at Deck 9 stumbled upon something that didn't belong in their game: Nazi symbols. Initially, developers noticed a reference to the number 88 and flagged the issue to their bosses, assuming it was an innocent mistake. But in the ensuing weeks, others found more problematic signs and in-universe labels, such as references to a racist meme, the number 18, and the Haggle rune. As the number of possible hate symbols mounted, staff grew increasingly concerned that someone was putting these items in their game deliberately as a dog whistle to white supremacists. Nazi imagery would be inappropriate in most games, but in a Life is Strange title, the dissonance was especially frightening. Since its inception, the series has been lauded for thoughtful portrayals of marginalized individuals. Its most recent entry, Life is Strange True Colors, won Games for Impact at the Game Awards in 2021 and a GLAAD Media Award for Outstanding Video Game. With such a reputation, developers tell me there was an exception that any whiff of hate speech would be immediately removed and thoroughly investigated. But as the weeks went by, management remained silent and staff unrest grew. This wasn't the first time executives had failed to act when marginalized individuals at the studio felt unsafe. According to over a dozen current and former employees across several departments, most of whom spoke to me on condition of anonymity for fear of reprisal, Deck 9's management has long let a toxic work culture fester at the studio. They claim the C-suite has protected multiple abusive leaders, encouraged crunch, and allowed bullying of individuals, advocating internally for more authentic representation in Life is Strange. So this is real bad, but I'm going to keep going. Now, on the cusp of announcing its next game and struggling to secure other projects, Deck 9's leadership is facing growing internal discontent from those harmed by its inaction. While the developers of Life is Strange of Life is Strange love and believe in the series, many of them increasingly struggle to reconcile the values the game promote with the culture in which they are made. Deck 9's first crack at Life is Strange involved significant crunch, and while efforts were made to improve workloads on True Colors, overtime never fully vanished. One anonymous individual told me they worked 70 to 80 hours a week for an entire month straight on True Colors. Another described taking on weeks of crunch to protect other team members, saying it was never mandated, but there was always too much to get done in the allotted time. Much of the crunch, developers say, was the direct result of the relationship. This gets really, really interesting here, everybody. Much of the crunch, developers say, was the direct result of the relationship between Deck 9 and Square Enix. Several people told me it felt as though Square Enix had sold Life is Strange to the lowest bidder, and that was frequently reflected in production schedules with tight deadlines and small budgets. Alongside complaints of low pay, difficulty getting promotions, and the aforementioned crunch, many people I spoke to expressed frustration that management allowed numerous instances of toxic behavior to go unaddressed for months on end. These included a number of specific accounts of sexual harassment, bullying, transphobia, and otherwise toxic work culture that multiple individuals corroborated. Every woman I spoke to for this piece had at least one story of being treated poorly or harassed during her time there, and almost all said they felt they had to fight exceptionally hard to receive raises or promotions. This is just one part of this article. There's a lot more stuff, and it goes through the story of how Square Enix London, who were the publishers of this game, that were referred to as bullies by a lot of the Deck 9 employees. And then it goes back to say, well, it wasn't just the publisher's fault, though. The leadership at Deck 9 was also a major issue, specifically citing out one of the higher-ups there and a lot of the problematic things that he did to foster a very, very toxic workplace there. Kyle, any initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming into this cold. I hadn't seen this story yet, so I'm sort of learning it in real time. And it's just continually frustrating when these stories pop up. I mean, I'm really happy to see Rebecca Valentine like writing these kinds of stories, but I'm even more impressed by the employees and the women, in the studio who are stepping up to say something to like elevate this and get it, make it known. That's so hard. That is such a difficult scary thing to do. But I think it's like long term, it's helpful to see these kinds of stories get out there. But it doesn't make it any less frustrating, and it doesn't. I don't know that it immediately reflects change in the studio. I hope it does. I hope they see this and reevaluate everything.
Yeah. It's a quote here that I wanted to pull from the article is, all the stuff people have praised in the queer community about True Colors was hard fought for. Garris, the leadership member that I was talking about earlier, had senior queer people on his writing team that he refused to trust. The theme of the game is empathy. The power is empathy, but he didn't really have any of his own. He would talk about how he felt so empathetic to people, but he genuinely seemed so repelled by any experience he couldn't personally identify with. If someone talked about their lived experience as a marginalized individual, his response was always, "Is that true?" And I feel like that, again, so many of these negative stories that we talk about fall back to that word empathy and how important it is to learn it. And I feel like the people that learn it earlier on in their lives are way better equipped to deal with life and people and relationships going forward. And it is very unfortunate that it's not something that's a guarantee that people are going to ever learn. And I feel like the more we talk about this stuff, though, the more it instills the importance in people's minds of empathy and understanding what it truly means to be able to understand the experience of others. And with everything going on always, but specifically right now in the games industry, I just feel like this story is just, it's horrible that we're still getting stories like this. And it's horrible we're getting stories like this from a studio like Deck Nine that makes the games that they do and that get lauded for what they get lauded for. That's the weird
underline of this whole story is like that the whole game is about empathy. Like that's the purpose of the game. It makes it all the more confusing and frustrating.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And yeah, it's so unfortunate that I'm such a broken record here saying this, but it's like I wish that we could just do a daily news show about video games that are just talking about, hey, the new games are coming out, and hey, this game got not delayed, it's pushed up, and everything's good. But instead, we're dealing with like countless layoff stories and countless stories like this that are just, even for the people that still do have their jobs, they're being treated so poorly or in places that are so hostile that like, there's no way that this is good for anybody's like mental headspace. And like in the workplace, out of the workplace, anything in between, it's like people really need to reflect on their own positions, their own responsibility with the power that they have. And reading through this article, like it is, I feel like, and God, it's always delicate to talk about this stuff because I don't want to say the wrong thing that like somebody takes and like turns into like a disaster. But like I feel like I can't imagine anybody reading this entire article and getting to the end and not believing it. Like I can see people starting and just being like, the number 88, I don't know what that is. I don't know, because like I didn't know what that was. Like, and it's like, all right, there's the coincidences, maybe, whatever. It starts to add up, and it's like, cool, just because I don't know what it is, whoever's putting it there does. And when you start seeing all the pieces together, you're like, yo, okay, this is definitely deliberate. And then how are they going to deal with it being in there? And then it just keeps going and going and going with like how bad this all gets. And they start telling stories of this guy, and it's like, you could start reading it and you could in the beginning be like, this doesn't sound that bad. But then by the time you get to the end, you're like, hey, you know what? Like things don't need to be the worst thing ever in order to be a problem and toxic and making the people around you uncomfortable. And I feel like that's something we all need to be more empathetic towards, is how we make people feel. And even though we don't see it as we're making them feel anything negative, we might be. And if we are, you need to change that.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other closing thoughts on this?
No, it's tough because, like I said, I don't have the full. I want to read the full article, and I fear coming across with just platitudes. But like, I'm glad this story has surfaced, and I hope it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, go read the article. Go to IGN. Check out Rebecca's work there because it is very, very important. And I think that they did a really great job getting this out there. And again, shout out to everybody that was interviewed and like able to speak freely with all this stuff.
That's a scary thing to do. Like it's truly brave. Absolutely.
The one thing I want to add is I really hope people out there who read this story take away of the realities of what are what's actually happening at studios, what are the conversations that higher ups are actually happening and putting onto employees, putting onto people who are trying to fight for representation in video games, because there's been the shitstorm on the internet for the last few weeks with conspiracy theories, and I hope there are some people that can read this and maybe wake up a little bit and be like, oh no, this is how shit is really happening. I know that'll be few and far between, but yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. Tones MC in the chat says, can we just talk about games? This is talking about games. This is how games are made. And I just feel like that's so important. You can't separate this. This is the news of what's going on with the people making our games. And if this continues to happen, games will not be made. There will be no games. That would be the least of the problems going on. But moving on, story number 2. Quite the shift here, everybody. A story trailer for Star Wars Outlaws is coming next week. Star Wars Outlaws Twitter account themselves said, watch the world premiere of the Star Wars Outlaws story trailer. Join us on April 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. CET. Hell yes, let's go. How hyped are you for this, Kyle?
This is the world of Star Wars that I'm still engaged with. I have fallen off the shows, but this and Jedi Survivor, these are kind of this is how I engage with Star Wars these days, and so so I'm very excited. Absolutely. Also, I like the idea of a proper open world Star Wars. That's such a simple thing that we've wanted, I don't know, since the first time I played GTA 3. It's about time.
I'm super hyped on this. The first gameplay trailer they showed, I was really, really excited for. I am not the biggest open world guy, but when you tie the right property to it, I can change my mind there. I always kind of prefer the more linear things, and that's why I feel like even something like Jedi Survivor is kind of as open as I want it to be. That's pushing my boundaries a little bit, but I feel for the most part that was fairly linear. And looking at what we've seen so far for Outlaws, it does seem like it's going to have a lot of the big story beat set piece moments that I am looking for. And yeah.
I just want to drive a speeder. I just want to have because that was in Jedi Survivor, which was nice, but it was on rails. It was a very cool sequence. But I just want to hop on a speeder and just go north. That's
just go north.
I love it. When I was a kid, that was always my favorite vehicle. I know people love the X-Wings and stuff, but for some reason I was so obsessed with the Jedi speeding through the jungle. I don't know why that was so fascinating to me. But
it's a cool scene, man. 100%.
I love that there is a shared experience about the speeders on Endor that we're all just because the Scout Troopers helmets, man. There's something about it. We saw that and we're like, that's cool. That's freaking cool, man. But yeah, it looks great. My big question here, I have 2 questions. Why and when? So we're getting a Star Wars Outlaws story trailer.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Hey, both questions answered right there. So I Tuesday, April 9th, we're going to get the Star Wars Outlaws trailer. They just talked about getting the Ubisoft Forward in early June. Why not just save this for that? Is this just kind of let's start the Star Wars stuff and have more Star Wars stuff there? It just seems a little bit weird for me, marketing plotting wise. And then the other question is, when's this game coming out? Is them doing the story trailer in April, is that a sign that it is still on track for 2024?
Yeah, because they haven't given it a date, right? It's just one of those 2024 floating games.
Which
right?
That's correct, right? There is a 2024.
I want to say it might be at the end of this. Yeah, it said coming 2024. I think we've been guessing summer 2024 because we also have Assassin's Creed Red potentially coming out, and our guess is that that's most likely fall ? So I think we've been guessing that this is a summer game, so I could see it being that you start the hype now, and then maybe it's June that they announced their Ubisoft Forward event or whatever. Maybe
June
that's
10th, I think.
Maybe that's when we're getting a launch trailer by then,
Wow. Whoa, that would be wild. That would be wild. Kyle, do you think that that's adequate?
Sooner than expected was sort of what we're thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah,
Like,
I would just
I'm
be
always like scared
surprised.
to make like put my flag in the ground on predictions and stuff. But like I would love to not be playing this when I'm overloaded in November with a million games. I would love for them to get ahead of that a little bit.
Yeah, there's just something about it to me that feels like 2025, but maybe that's just because everything seems to be moving that way, and we just haven't heard much about this. But I guess this is us hearing about it, and it's sooner than I expected. So I feel like I'm kind of just confirming my bias in a roundabout way. But I'm excited this is coming as soon as it is. I'm excited to see what the story trailer is because I love the placement of this in the ethos of Star Wars, and I want to see more story stuff to see exactly what we're getting into. But yeah, it's do you think that this ends with the release date?
I think so. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have it's like you want me to expand more, but it's like like I want to see a date, and I want it to be this year, and I want it to be sooner than November. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Just because I'm scared of that October November zone where it's like please don't
what are you
throw
scared
just
of?
this giant too much that I want to play.
But like what? Because I feel like we've been talking here about looking at the rest of the year, and like I feel like things keep getting moved out of the year where it's like
that's a good point.
I feel like Xbox has a very solid lineup that we'll see what ends up sticking, but like they got indie later in the year, but like what big games later in the year are you talking about?
That's a really good point because like being put on the spot, I don't have a good answer for you. I just like history has just shown that I'm going to be losing sleep in November.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know, like there's probably some weird Nintendo thing that we don't know about yet or something, because they're always close to the chest on that stuff. But you're absolutely right. Like if it's like, what is the big, huge game I'm looking forward to this year? That would usually be the holiday release. It's like, actually, I don't have an answer for that. It's a good point.
Because I mean, like we've talked this to death, but on Nintendo, I think it's either Metroid Prime 4 or nothing. I feel like the Zelda ports potentially could happen, but those aren't like you drop everything you're doing to play it if you have something else you need to play type games. And then on the Xbox side, I feel like they do have a very solid lineup throughout the year, but Hellblade's next month, which is wild to think about.
It is great. That
very
is really
exciting.
That has snuck up on me. Well, the answer is obviously Fantasy Life: The Girl Who Steals Time on October 10th.
What can you tell me? Enlighten me about this.
It's it's a sequel to that DS game where you kind of lived your life and you took on different jobs, and it was kind of like a single player MMO. We all remember it and love it and are really jazzed about the sequel finally coming.
Yeah, Tim.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Oh, we're all very excited about that.
I was just looking for games with like confirmed dates in October, and that's like the only one that I saw on a quick Google. That game's gonna be great. I have nothing against that game. It's already used as a
the one worry about June specifically, now that I think about it, is Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring is just gonna be a beast.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a new game. That's gonna be in a sequel and all.
It's gonna be a 1.5. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think like a 1.9. I think that's what that thing's gonna be.
Damn.
Dean Morrison in the chat says, sorry, no, he's brought something else up. Crush Lemon says, I feel like Star Wars Outlaws will come out in August or September, and then Assassin's Creed Red will be October, November. How are we feeling about Assassin's Creed? Like, do we think we get one this year?
When was the last? Was Vikings the last? Oh, we got
Mirage last year. Yeah.
I think we're due for like the big one. I think so. I think we see that this year.
Barrett, I'm gonna need your Assassin's Creed expertise here because I'm like not sure we're getting an Assassin's Creed this year. Because is Red? Which one's Red? Is that the Japan one?
That's the feudal Japan one. That's the one where people like wanted 10 years ago, and then Ghost of Tsushima came out, and then they confirmed that they were doing feudal Japan, and then everybody's like, "Well, we got Ghost of Tsushima already. Like, are you really going to be able to do anything different and interesting?"
And we haven't even really seen a trailer for that one.
Yeah, right? It was just like a teaser, and that they were working on it essentially. And I think that was a few years ago. I think we're probably due. Mirage was a new studio under Ubisoft, and it was like their first like really big game that they, or maybe their first game ever that they had made.
Well, they had done some DLCs and expansions and stuff.
Okay,
right?
Yeah. I think that was their first like big solo release, though.
Yes, big first standalone Assassin's Creed title.
But and that makes sense that they were doing DLC beforehand, because I think the idea was that Mirage was originally going to be DLC, and then they're like, no, let's make it like a whole thing. Yeah. But we haven't gotten a title from one of the big, like Montreal or Quebec, I think in a couple of years. So yeah, it would have been Valhalla back in 2020. So
that was a launch game, right?
Yeah, that was a PS5, Xbox Series launch game. So a cross-gen title, I think. But
yeah, because I remember that was the big. I remember playing it on my Xbox One S, and then I brought my save over to Series X. And that was like, oh my gosh, I can see a huge improvement here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're due for one. I see Assassin's Creed coming this year. I feel like we got some report on it like a couple months ago that they're trying to release it by March 2025, like end of this fiscal year. And I feel like they always are really trying to get Assassin's Creed in the like pre-Black Friday kind of area. So I'd be surprised if it was out of this year. So yeah, but I could see August, September, like whoever wrote that in the chat, because I could see that being a good like kicking off into the kind of fall season.
It is interesting.
I could see it like suddenly we get a big full reveal on it, and it's coming sooner than we expect. Like just in general, developers across the board, they just like to hold stuff closer to release in general.
That's true, but like I feel like also there's more leaks than there's ever been, and Assassin's Creed's always the leakiest thing ever. So the fact that we haven't seen anything about this actually, I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting.
See, we say that now, but then a keychain will drop at some point from a Walmart next week.
True.
Yeah. And we still
Someone will share
about
the whole game design document on an airplane or whatever that other one was.
Yeah, totally. So
well, here's what'll happen. We'll get the full leak of Assassin's Creed Infinity soon, which was kind of I remember like reconfirmed in reports or whatever like a month or two ago. Because I remember Greg and Blessing doubted me, but I knew that it was going to come back in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And it's also interesting to look at Ubisoft's track record of what they used to be versus what they are now. But like, they put out Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs Legion. Was that what it's called? Watch Dogs? Yeah, like so close to each other. And that was like a bad decision, like that. Maybe not as bad as the Titanfall Battlefield situation, but like it was not great for Watch Dogs. And I feel like Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Japan, you don't want to put those anywhere near each other. Like, even though like they are both different things, they're both like kind of the megaton, like, yo, we're doing the thing, like games that Ubisoft can pull off. Well. So I don't know how they're going to want to play that, but it is interesting to look at Ubisoft's track record of when they announce a game versus it coming out, because I feel like they got caught in some pretty bad places in like the last 5 or so years with games like Avatar that seemingly kept getting delayed, and Skull and Bones, need I say more. But then you look at things like Prince of Persia Lost Crown that were announced at E3 time last year and came out in January. So that was a much shorter kind of like announcement, like first reveal to the game is out, Yeah. So
Great
I wonder.
Game, by the way. I just finished it finally, like 2 nights ago.
What'd you think?
I loved it. That's fantastic. I've been like all in on Prince of Persia since Sands of Time. I love that series so much, and this is like it was a perfect. It's like a perfect comeback to me. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't think we needed to like go all full AAA, like another, like let's put it on the same tier as like an Assassin's Creed. I like the sort of let's scale it back a little and make something that's just so design focused, and I loved it. I was so happy with it.
It's my game of the year so far. Absolutely love it. So love hearing anybody love it.
It's between that and Like a Dragon, I think, for me.
Yeah, it's between that and Final Fantasy for me, but I think I give Prince the edge there. We're going to keep going on talking about a whole bunch of stories, but we're going to do that right after a quick word from our sponsor.
Kinda Funny turns 9 years old today. We could have made it 9 days without your support. That's why 2024 is all about doubling down on our shows and making it simpler than ever for you to get the most out of our content. Our revamped Kinda Funny membership is your one-stop shop for all our amazing content, which now includes on a weekly basis the Kinda Funny podcast, In Review, the Kinda Funny Gamescast, P.S. I Love You XOXO, the Kinda Funny Xcast, the brand new series Kinda Funny Game Showdown. 5 episodes of Kinda Funny Games Daily, and 5 exclusive Gregway vlogs.
And 5 days of streaming fun with me and the gang here in our newly revamped streaming space. It's going to be filled with a ton of laughter and a whole lot of shenanigans. We'll see you there.
That's more than 20 pieces of content a week from an 11-person independent team in San Francisco. That's a lot, and to get the most out of it, all we're asking for is $10. $10 gets you the Kinda Funny membership, and that entitles you to ad-free versions of the shows, the ability to watch the podcast live as we record them, and the exclusive access to my daily show, Gregway. You can get your Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Yes, we are expanding our Kinda Funny membership offering to YouTube so people can take full advantage of the platform they prefer. If you want to go above and beyond the Kinda Funny membership to support us, we will still have higher Patreon tiers, albeit with some changed up perks. We just wanted to make the message as clear as possible that the $10 Kinda Funny membership is for the masses to get all of the core content people love. Everything above that is very appreciated. The support means the world to us. You all are the best. But the $10 Kinda Funny membership available on both patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames is where we see the value of what we do. Kinda Funny is a dream come true, and we wouldn't have it without you. We hope if you've ever enjoyed the content, you can support us for at least a month as we prepare for our biggest year ever. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
And we're back with story number 3. A reminder for everybody, online play for Wii U and 3DS will shut down on Monday. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Nintendo will be shutting down online play for 3DS and Wii U early next week. As previously reported, the company plans to close the services on April 8th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Nintendo already closed the eShops for both systems back in March 2023, but players have been able to continue using online services in-game, such as online multiplayer and rankings. Once this ends next week, however, games will only be playable offline. This will particularly impact games with a heavy emphasis on online play, such as Splatoon 1 on the Wii U. Players will still be able to play games offline once online services end, according to Nintendo. It has also said that Pokemon Bank and Poke Transporter will retain online functionality, presumably since they're still used by players and use online connectivity as their central mechanic. Nintendo has also stressed that this only relates to in-game online functionality, meaning it will still be possible to download update data and re-download purchased software and DLC from the 3DS and Wii U eShops, quote, for the foreseeable future. So read between the lines here. At some point, you're not going to be able to do that. At some point, probably sooner than you want it to be, Pokemon Bank and Poke Transporter, they're just not going to work. Even if they're supposed to work, they're just not going to work.
Well,
so
those are subscription services, right? Pokemon Bank. I wonder if that helps
they were
them.
old subscription services. You can't get them anymore, though. So, because now it's Pokemon Home is the newer version, essentially. So, if you care at all, get on this shit. Deal with this shit. Have you been keeping up with this Mario Maker situation?
No, what is this?
I have been only lightly seeing this happening on the internet, but a group of people have been trying to beat every single user-created level in Mario Maker before they're all gone.
Oh my god!
Mario Maker 1. It's just awesome. Just so
Who's
cool
making
to
them
see.
do that?
You know, people choose to do things with their life and times that I don't understand.
No, I don't mean to be insulting. That is
Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't mean to come off as insulting. That's an impressive goal. I'm just like, oh my, that is a hell of a goal. That is crazy. That doesn't seem feasible.
Yeah, and like I saw one last week that was really crazy, where it was like it was a level that somehow made it past the like the Nintendo like scrutiny of like because they have rules of like the level can't be, it has to be beatable by a human.
You have to finish it. Yeah.
And there was something where it's like there was one that seemed to only be possible to beat with a tool assisted speed run type thing, and people were like, no, we're doing it. And supposedly a human did something they're not supposed to be able to do.
Hell yeah.
So
See, that's why it's all worth it. Yeah.
it's all worth it. They did it.
Yeah, I'll always be sad about Mario Maker because I reviewed the Wii U version and I had like and this I think all reviewers had this where it was our levels that we made and shared during the review period all got wiped when the game actually released. So I lost everything I ever created in that game.
That is so sad. It really is. Barrett, thanks for bringing that up. That's amazing to see.
We'd all forgotten.
Yeah, so
same for Mario Maker 2, actually. I don't know why they did that to us.
Cool. Weird. Yeah, I had that same issue with Mario Maker 2 where my review code, God, this is such a specific dumb thing, but I had the review code for Mario Maker 2, and then when the new game came out, it was like a separate icon on my Switch.
Right, yeah.
And for some reason, I can't delete the other one. So I will always just have 2 Super Mario Maker 2s on my Switch, and it drives me crazy. It doesn't matter.
You don't know, can you tell which one is which?
No,
like
you can't.
No, that makes
They're
it
the
so
exact
much
same
worse.
yellow square. It's, God, the most first world problems. Story number 4. Stellar Blade will receive New Game Plus and free skins as DLC. This comes from Tom Ivan once again at VGC. Stellar Blade Studio Shift Up has discussed its DLC plans for the upcoming PS5 exclusive. In an interview with South Korean site RuliWeb via Push Square, Shift Up CEO and Stellar Blade director Kim Young-tae said the title will receive New Game Plus New Game Plus mode post-release. Free updates will also include costume bundles for protagonist Eve, adding to the 30 outfits available in the base game, which is being published by Sony. They stress that the third-person action game won't include any microtransactions at release.
Well, but there was an asterisk there, right?
Well,
They're like, unless it's like a licensed thing.
So we would like to make
right?
it clear that Stellar Blade does not require any additional expenses that gamers are not aware of other than the cost of purchasing the package. While DLC has not been determined beyond the free content drops currently planned, he said the studio could charge a fee if it decides to collaborate with another developer on future costume designs for Eve.
Right. Okay.
Interesting.
So
But
when they sell that Nier Automata skin.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be wild if they did that. That's cool to see. I spoke to them like a couple months ago for a feature, and the thing that I liked so much about what they said is like that they come from a mobile development background, and they were so adamant. They're like, the reason we started making this game, other than we just really like Nier Automata, is that we wanted to make a game with like a beginning, middle, and end. Right, like we were tired of that sort of endless grind that is popular in Korea with the mobile scene, where it's like we're making games meant to be played forever. So I appreciate that they're sort of continuing to be like, this is a game with an ending, and yeah, sure, we might have DLC in the future, but like you're getting a complete package when the game comes out. So I appreciate that because I like games with endings. I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too. And that Stellar Blade looks pretty cool. Very interested in that. But Kyle, I'm tired of all that big news. If I wanted something smaller, the tiniest news that I needed to know about, where would I go?
Well, you go to our last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news items you need to know about.
It's true. It's damn true. First little bit of Wii news here for you. Front Mission 2 Remake is coming to Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PS4, PS5, and PC on April 30th. System Shock Remake's getting its biggest patch on April 11th, including revised ending sequence, female hacker voice, optional waypoints, and some quality of life stuff. And it's coming to Xbox One, Series X, PS4, and 5 on May 21st. So everybody, get excited.
Like female hacker voice, like your player character can have a female hacker voice? What do you think that is, Tim?
I never played System Shock, so I don't know if you were the hacker or if somebody's hacking you. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like a novice.
Famously, there's a female AI that you're going up against. I also have not played System Shock 2.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good question. Is it like the character player? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Somebody, let us know. But that's that for now. That's the Wii News. Thank you very much, everybody. What a great time. You can be part of the show by super chatting. And we'll get to those. We got a couple super chats I want to get to right now, including the Portland Kevin saying, I loved the speeder in Shadows of the Empire on Nintendo 64.
Probably my favorite Star Wars game, genuinely.
Really?
Just time and place, that was just, that's all I had for my 64. I just played it over and over and over again. A couple of years ago, I tracked down the director and talked to him for a really long time and wrote a big piece on it. I just love that game.
That's great.
I went, and it like doesn't hold up at all, but it holds up to me, right? Like I go and play it and I understand all the weird stupid nonsense in that game that works. I just learned it when I was a kid, but yeah, I love that game.
That's so funny. There's an era of Star Wars games that was around there. So it was Shadows of the Empire. It was all the PC ones. So the X-Wing games,
Right.
Dark Forces, like all of that I didn't own a PC. I didn't own an N64. I didn't own anything, but my neighbors across the street did. And my friend had an older brother, like just a couple years older. So he was like playing all these things. So I have such weird memories that are so like, I know so much about these games, but I'm not sure I ever personally played them.
Yeah,
Or
like more than maybe just like hanging out at a friend's
Yeah,
house,
it's like,
right,
but I feel like I've experienced everything they have to offer, but I mesh them together in this really weird way, just because it's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just such a of the time. So I'm not sure I ever actually played through Shadows of the Empire.
Well, I can't say you should today,
Mhm.
and maybe that's evident by looking at the B-roll that you guys have on screen. But which thank you so much for specifically pulling up the speeder level, a level that I played probably like 500 times, just over and over and over, because I love the speeders.
The
so
speeder's
much.
cool. I mean, I remember renting Return of the Jedi on the Super Nintendo, and that starts
hell yeah.
with a
Right,
speeder
yeah.
Over Tatooine, which like I'm like, this isn't canon. This isn't how this shit happened. But I loved it though, even though it was not fun.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah,
fun.
this
But anyway,
one's
watch
nearly
this.
as-
Watch this B-roll and pretend you're having fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'll be in my head.
It's kind of hard just because like this looks. I played Shadows of the Empire as a kid. I know my dad has probably played it more recently than I have, and this looks just as bad as like the hover bike in Jack 2, which is like really impressive.
Oh, God.
Holy crap!
No, but no, this guys, I swear this is fun. I swear this is fun in 2024. This is good.
Manic Pixel says, since we have one cohort, I need a podcast where Ben Hansen and Tim talk about Final Fantasy VII. I'd love to make that happen. I did the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth preview with Ben. That's when I actually met him for the first time. And we just had...
And you were underwhelmed, just generally?
With
right?
Ben, like I was expecting somebody a lot shorter, his height definitely was not what I expected. Nah, Ben was the best.
No, I
Honestly,
love
we
Ben.
had
Ben's
such an amazing time hanging out. Like his love for Final Fantasy VII. The thing about Final Fantasy VII is it brings people together in a way that I have not seen any other specific video game. Like being at the preview events for Remake, for Rebirth, like there was a level of excitement where all of the I'm a professional doing video game, whatever, it goes away and you're just like, I can't believe I'm here. This is amazing. And like, I'm here for that energy.
I'm in the cult. I'm so happy to be here.
totally. Hey, fuck it, man. Nah,
Yeah.
but Ben was awesome, and I would love to
Ben's
talk to him about Final Fantasy at any time.
Yeah, if you've got a spare like 27 hours or something, like he's probably available.
Definitely. Mara writes in and says, the Invincible finale was insane. Tim, please tell me there's a screencast for season 2 coming. I hate to say this. I do not think there is going to be. I will let you know, Mara, that I put it on the calendar. I'm trying to sneak it in for next week, but I need to make sure that I got at least Greg, at least someone else to talk to about it in order to make it happen. I'm trying. I am not feeling too great, but I am trying. I'm doing it for you. I promise you that. I watched the finale last night, and I am beside myself. I cannot believe how good this season was. I cannot believe how good that finale was. I cannot believe the cameos. I cannot believe the fight scenes. I cannot believe the emotional core that this show has. It's amazing.
So I should go watch season 2.
Yes.
I
And
just
now
haven't
season
gotten
2 is
around
all
to it yet.
done now. They
Oh,
released
nice.
it.
That actually is a nice incentive that
Yeah.
I can just go and see
They
the whole
released
thing.
it in the dumbest way possible, where they put out 4 episodes at the end of last year, took a multi-month break, and then put out 4 more episodes week to week to week. And it's like, what are we doing here?
Like
what are
the
we
Attack
doing?
on Titan.
Yeah.
school
Final
of
season part
releasing
10.
videos.
Get out of here.
So confusing.
Get out of here. All right, I'm going to do You're Wrong real quick, see what we got wrong.
Oh, someone here says Shadows of the Empire actually looks amazing, and they're going to go get it on GOG and go play it.
Hell yeah. Bandera Sen says, Kyle said Fantasy Life was a DS game. A correction. It was a 3DS game.
Really? I was so confident. Thank you.
And then
It was. Look at that.
Aiden
Okay.
from Edmonton says, Tim, the Mario Maker community cleared all Mario Maker 1 levels a few weeks back. You can check out the status on Is MM Beat Yet? Sorry, this website's hard to read. Is SMM beaten yet.com. Barrett, can we go there?
I'm trying my best.
Yeah. Is Super Mario Maker beaten yet? Is what it is. So yes. Oh, it is. They did it, everybody. Cool. They did it. Oh wow.
This is actually really impressive with like the cat paw coming in and stuff.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Man.
Oh yeah, they've got all these stats.
This is cool.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Kyle, what you been playing? What you want to talk about? I got 5 more minutes with you if you just want to hang out.
I was talking about how I gave up on Suicide Squad during the break. That was a pretty good discussion. We talked about Lost Crown.
Oh, yeah.
I could use this time to complain that Greg Miller in his IGN days said he didn't like the end of Prince of Persia 2018. And that's really, or sorry, 2008.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here to say that he's wrong about that and has been wrong for
is he though?
2 decades. Yes, the ending of that game's amazing.
Well, no, it's not. The end sucked.
Yes, it is.
There was no end, and then you had to get the epilogue.
There was absolutely an end. It was basically the end. The Last of Us, right? Basically has a similar ending to Prince of Persia 2008, but Prince of Persia 2008 did it first.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's heartwarming. It's lovely. It's about sacrifice. It has stuck with me all these years later, and I'm excited to finally call out Greg Miller for it for complaining about it on an old IGN podcast.
I love this game so deeply. Like it's such a great example of not letting a franchise get just overdone. And at that point, Prince of Persia was essentially annualized, if not literally annualized, from Sands of Time to Warrior Within to Two Thrones. And I love that trilogy deeply. Like, clearly, Sands of Time is the best and the most talked about, but I love all 3 of those games, even with the edginess of Warrior Within. But for them to do this, like, hey, it's a different Prince, a different vibe. The cel-shaded look now is like, we see it all the time. Back then, this was like special and different, and its focus on one-on-one combat was something that like we had not seen in video games.
It's a great game. I love that game. Also, I'm impressed by how quickly you guys get like B-roll for a game I gave you no indication that I was going to be
B-roll
talking
Barrett,
about.
baby.
Fastest hands in the West.
Wait, but hold on. Is this the end of the game though? You didn't like pull up. This is the ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh boy, these are spoilers, man. These are spoilers.
I mean, you said 2008, and so I used my best judgment of like, all right, it's a 16-year-old game. Does anybody really care? Is anybody?
I will say, I guess no one knows exactly what the context here.
Yes.
But, I
and also, is it even
genuinely really think the end of that game is beautiful and was just stirring in a way that was kind of a bold choice. I won't explain why. But,
do you remember?
That game.
Do you remember the first trailer for that game?
No.
Oh my god, it was so hype. Like, hold on, let's watch it to end the show here, Barrett. Prince of Persia 2008.
Would this have been E3 2008?
It must have been,
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and also, at some point, I want to
release.
talk about this. One of the biggest, like, it's not a conspiracy theory, but something that I've been obsessed with that I've never seen anyone talk about, and I should probably Google it because somebody probably has talked about it. Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, comes out, mega hit. Everybody loves it. Prince of Persia Warrior Within comes out. Everybody talks shit because he's all emo and rock music's playing, but the game's freaking awesome as hell when you were 13 years old. That stuff's cool as shit. And death's chasing you at every turn. It's amazing.
And Godsmack is the soundtrack.
It is, man. Then Two Thrones is the next one, and I'll never forget the trailers that we got at E3 and the trailers we got after, and that is not the game that we ended up getting months later. Like,
really?
All the story stuff, like, every single story beat that they have in those trailers is just not the game that we got literally 3 months later. And I'm like, how is nobody talking about this? Why do I care about this so much?
Were they trying to pull a Kojima thing? Like,
I don't know.
Falsifying. Actually, I don't remember that at all.
Oh my god!
But that trilogy was so so important to me. Like to play that, even though like Warrior Within certainly represents sort of a canyon for that game.
Yeah,
like, I love that whole series. It's so good.
Oh my god, dude!
Oh, this sound! I am remembering this now with this music.
How long is this, Barrett?
2 minutes.
Yeah. God, dude. This is just so different for what Prince of Persia was at the time, and especially with Assassin's Creed kind of like taking on the mantle of Ubisoft's big flagship series on that when it made the jump from the PS2 era to the PS3 360 era. Yeah, this is the Nolan North one, Average Joe.
Yeah, one of my few complaints about this game, I don't think he was the best He's a great performer, but I just don't think he was like the best fit for the voice because he was just Nathan Drake at that point.
Yeah.
Which was a little hard to get over.
And
But
he was
yeah, I love that
Desmond
game.
in Assassin's Creed, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was like, he was all over the. I mean, he's still all over the place, but I mean, that was
Scroll later. I don't think this is the trailer I'm talking about.
This is a good one though.
Yeah, this is dope.
This
I
is
think this was
2008.
their like more like launch trailer type thing.
But it was
I'll
also
have to find the
crazy-
right trailer for later.
Yeah, it's crazy because you basically played as two characters simultaneously, which was wild. Yeah, some Ico energy in there. Great game.
Yeah,
Love that
totally,
game.
totally. Is it playable?
Glad
on
we got
modern
to talk
stuff?
about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I want to replay that. That sounds good. Maybe I'll find a way to play it on my Steam
I
Deck.
think you play it on your Series X. I think
Yeah?
that's probably still available.
Ooh,
Yeah, I think so.
that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us for this extremely fun episode of Kind of Funny Games Daily. One last time, if you could ask people to do one thing for you, what would it be?
Check out subscription.gameinformer.com. And, also gameinformer.com, just the website in general. We put lots of fun stuff up there all the time. So, yeah, go subscribe to the magazine. I'd really appreciate that.
Hell yeah. And then where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky, Kyle Hilliard. You just Google me. You'll find me.
Just Google him, everybody. Just Google him. It's $1.99 on Steam right now. Says, hey, that comic. So everybody, go
Hell
play
yeah.
Prince of
There we
Persia
go.
2008, baby. And also play
What
The
else
Last
you
Crown.
doing?
I think that's more important right now. Buy that game. Support that game. We need more Prince of Persia. Anyways, I love you all. Until next time, goodbye.